I'm Colin,
And I'm Megan.
and this is
Pet Sitter Confessional, an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode. As we've talked a lot about on this show is just the immense impact that the pandemic has had on pet sitters and pet care providers across the globe. And today we're so happy and thankful that Michelle Adams, owner of Chatty Cats Care based out of London, has come on the show to share about her experiences during this time, some unique perspectives that she has coming from her specific business, and what she thinks the rest of the year is going to look like for her. So, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on today. Can you give a little bit better introduction for yourself and tell us about what you do?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
So my name's Michelle, as mentioned, and I am the founder and director of the cat sitting company called Chatty Cats Care. And we're based in London in the UK. We're a fairly new company, but things have been going quite well and we're growing steadily. So I'm happy with how things are going so far. As well as running the company, I actually have another job as well, which is very fortunate for me because during these times, during the pandemic, business has, I guess, come to a standstill in a sense where we're not really getting bookings through, of course, which is completely understandable because there's a lockdown. So I'm very fortunate enough to have another job to get, I guess, financial support from, another source of income. So yeah, it has been going really well. And then, of course, as soon as the lockdown started, it has been a little bit difficult.
Oh, I'm sure. And yeah, I want to get to how COVID-19 has impacted your business, but I do want to back up and ask, where did the name Chatty Cats Care come from?
Yeah, so I've been looking for a good name for the company for quite a while, and I started to make a list of names that I felt, I guess, had a ring to them or felt personal to me. And then in the end, I was really inspired by a Bengal cat that I look after called Ollie, and he is super chatty. Bengals are quite known to be quite a chatty breed of cat. So this was the first Bengal cat I had kind of looked after, and I was so surprised by how chatty he was. He would literally greet me at the door as soon as I'd walk in and roll on his back and start chatting away for ages. And I literally we could have a conversation. Like I'd say hi and he'd meow back. And it's really cute. So I guess he was kind of the muse and inspiration for the name Chatty Cats Care. And then after that, I started to get even more chattier cats. So it felt really fitting for the company to be called Chatty Cats Care.
Oh gosh, that's really cool. Oh, I love Ollie the Bengal. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
So why did you decide to focus on cat care specifically as opposed to dog care or maybe just a general pet care service?
Yeah, so I actually had no real plans about starting a cat sitting service at all. And the reason why I started looking after cats in the beginning was to literally make some extra money while I studied for my first degree. So I actually joined I guess, a well-known cat sitting online service in the UK, and it's probably one of the largest cat sitting companies. So I joined them because I knew I loved cats. I needed something that was flexible, that I could kind of work with alongside my studies. And I own a cat as well. So I had that experience with cats, firsthand experience. And I guess cats have always gravitated around me, like almost feels like I was a cat in a past life. It sounds so strange, but literally anywhere I go, like any country, if I go on holiday, I just seem to be surrounded by cats all the time. So it felt like a calling in a sense. So I'd been working with the company, the other company, for about a year, and it was really flexible, and I liked that I could pick and choose how many cats I wanted to look after, and also it was a great way to reach local clients in my area. So it was going quite well with the clients, and I'd established, I guess, a small clientele who would book through the app on quite a regular basis. However, the downfall of the whole process was actually the support from the company itself. So the clients were great, but it was just the support from the company I felt lacked quite a lot. So when I say like the support, I mean it was quite bad in terms of if there was an emergency situation, for example, and you needed to get through to somebody from the company, it was near impossible because it's such a huge company, but they only had 2 people working in the office running the whole thing.
Whoa.
Which so it's crazy because it was such a big scale. They don't only operate in London, but surrounding areas in the UK as well. So I was even shocked that there was only kind of 2 people in the office. So I'm not sure if it's actually changed now. It could have done, but the last I knew of, there was literally just 2 people who were running the whole show. So it was really hard for cat sitters to get in touch with anyone if they had any questions. And, I sort of felt alone quite a lot. And actually, now I have my own kind of cat sitting company. I've hired some cat sitters who previously worked for this company as well, and they actually shared some of their stories whilst working for the company. And to be honest, some of them are actually quite shocking. So it was a bit concerning, and I guess that kind of urged me, or it prompted me to want to do something for myself. So I really loved the concept, but I thought I'd really like to take ownership of what I do and my service and how I work. So and I felt like at the time I definitely managed to kind of gain a good enough size clientele. So and I asked my existing clients if they would be interested in using my service, which is, I understand it's a little bit cheeky, but they really, I guess, warmed to me. They liked me as a person and how I operate and the service I provide. So without any question, really, they said, of course, we would definitely be, interested in booking with you directly. I did lose a few clients, which I anticipated anyway, because I guess it is a sort of risk, a smaller company or one person operating by themselves in comparison to a very large established company. So of course, people are going to have their worries or doubts. But yeah, it's been going really well. And so when I started working independently as a cat sitter, like I said, I loved it because it was on my own terms. I could create my own prices. It felt personal. And I guess to cut a long story short, I started to grow even more. And due to word of mouth, I also started posting on local community pages on Facebook, and it really just took off from there. As I was still studying, it did get pretty intense, studying and trying to run a business at the same time, especially during the busier times of cat sitting, which are Christmas and New Year. So everybody wanted to book cat sitting at that period, of course, because everybody wants to kind of go away for the holidays. So, and I have this issue where I find it difficult to say no sometimes.
So, that you too, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So especially if they're established clients and I get on well, then we've kind of created this relationship, I feel really bad sometimes to say no. So I took on way too much, and I don't drive, but I'm not sure if you've been to London before, but it's very, what's the word? Cosmopolitan. It's easy to get around. There's a lot of transport connections, and I use public transport a lot. However, London itself is very vast. So, it could take maybe over an hour to get to one part of London and then another part. And I was getting bookings literally north, south, east, west, all over London.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, and I was doing it by myself at this time. And so to balance out my visits, I would literally have to leave at 7 a.m. in the morning, and I'd literally take all of my books with me because I was still studying at the time. Sometimes I'd take my laptop, and I would be doing my university work and reading on the commute to clients' houses. So because I had quite a few cats, I didn't have time to study while at the client's house and fulfill the cat sitting duties at the same time. So it was quite strain, like it was a strain on my studies and I guess on my well-being in a sense, but at the same time I really enjoyed it. So all of my peers would come back from uni and they'd feel really refreshed after the holidays. They'd had all their work done, and I literally felt absolutely exhausted.
Understandably.
Yeah, but it strangely it felt worth it, and I did feel like I had accomplished something, and I also knew that I was still able to fulfill all my duties and provide a good service. So regardless of how I felt emotionally and exhausted, I received a lot of good feedback, and that kind of, it made me happy. But I knew I couldn't do it for long, so I literally I had to get extra help. So I roped my boyfriend in to help. He is also a cat lover and a cat owner, and I think we pretty much make great pet parents because we're such animal lovers to the point where we actually compete for an animal's love. It sounds crazy. I literally get so upset if a cat or a dog sits on him instead of me, and we tease each other about it all the time and say things like, he loves me more. So yeah. So I knew that he would be the perfect I guess work colleague and partner in this whole thing. And so we started working together, and it was perfect because he is self-employed as well. He's a personal trainer. So he would finish with a client at the gym, and then he could go to some cat sitting jobs after. So it worked out really perfectly. And he'd start work with his clients super early. So it worked out really well for morning and evening visits. So we did this for around 6 months, and it started to grow even more. And then I decided I'd actually make this into a real business. When I say real business, I mean, before it was sort of a business, but it was just, myself and my boyfriend, and it felt like it wasn't a real business. I don't know how to if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah. So by this time, his business started to grow as well. So he had less time to help me with the cat sitting. And I knew I didn't want to go back to square one again where I'd be doing everything by myself. But at the same time, I had worries about bringing in other people to work with me. Just because I had built trust with my clients, I had a particular way of working, and I was worried that whoever I brought in might not be able to, I guess, meet my standards of work.
Right.
So also this business is my baby. So it's just hard to let go and delegate sometimes. So yeah, I knew that I didn't want to go back to square one and feel that exhaustion again, because I'd literally run myself into the ground. So I started to approach friends who I knew were responsible and, of course, cat lovers and trustworthy. So I found 2 friends who worked really well with me, and I started to get more cat sitting requests. And that they were outside of my local area. So I knew that it was time to bite the bullet and recruit for cat sitters outside of my circle again. So I was glad I did, because I have an amazing team of cat sitters now, and I receive a lot of good feedback all the time about them, and they're super flexible. So, and sorry, I completely didn't answer your question. The reason why I started to look after cats instead of dogs is because cats are a lot easier to care for. They're a little less high maintenance than dogs, and cats, as I'm sure you know, are super independent. So although they do get lonely and they do appreciate company, they don't need as much as dogs. So dogs, I guess, are like children, and you need to be with them a lot and walk with them, like take them for walks, which is great. But not everybody, including myself, has that flexibility in the day. So we have looked after a couple of dogs before through other pet sitting apps, and both my boyfriend Ridge and I, we did find that it was a lot more intense than cat sitting. However, we love dogs. Like, we really do love dogs. And I would be interested in possibly expanding in the future to create, I guess, a sister company for dogs. But for now, I want to focus on just growing the cat sitting company first and see how it goes from there, really.
What I love about that story is you started with a mismatch of passion and support structure, and you looked around and you said, okay, I can do this on my own and make it work better for me. And when you made that step, you saw that growth just take off. And you touched on that point of you wanted to make it a quote unquote real business. And I think all of us reach that point of, okay, like I need to, there are things that I need to get in place, and I am either dedicated to this full time or we need to work on something else. And you pushed through that, and all because you saw there was a need and you had that passion. And I love hearing that story and that story arc as you move through that. So I guess kind of transition into 2020. How did the year start off for you? And what did the early days of COVID-19 look like in London and for your business?
Yeah, so the year actually started off really well. We had a great Christmas and New Year at the end of 2019, and we were super busy, much busier than ever before. So that was, really a positive thing for me, to see that it was actually taking off and things are going well. And I had enough sitters this time, which is amazing. So I had enough sitters to delegate work, and it was far less stressful than the past years. And it's amazing. I feel definitely confident in being able to take a break during the holiday period 1 year now. So I feel, that can be handled. And I can see everything expanding. So that really gives me a lot of confidence in what I'm doing, and I seem to be doing something right. So who knows, what will happen in the future? But I guess like I mentioned, as soon as the pandemic started and lockdown began, we had no bookings coming through. So it's been quite tough. Yeah.
So when did those first lockdowns come into place, and what are the status of them right now for you?
So I can't actually remember the exact date because I haven't actually stopped working because I have another job. Yeah. So so although it is a lockdown, I still have to go out every day. So it doesn't really feel like a lockdown for me. But I guess it's been around 2 months, I would say.
Okay.
And it has been, I guess it's affected our service in a sense because, yeah, of course, it's a lockdown. Nobody can go on holiday or go wherever they need to go anymore. But we are still currently offering a service during the pandemic for our clients. So
Okay.
if anybody needs to leave for any emergency reasons, or like we recently last week had somebody who needed to be out for the whole day to get a second cat. They were adopting a second cat. So I stepped in and looked after their cat, of course, being very sensible about this and the way I approached it. So we operate with a contactless service. So usually, for example, if I received a booking for a new client, we'd usually go around to the client's house to have an initial first meeting, so that the client can show me around and the cat sitter around, and we'd meet the cat and the owner, and that's how we usually do things. But now, obviously, we can't do that. So we are using technology, FaceTime, to create a virtual way of meeting clients now. So we can arrange a virtual call via FaceTime or Zoom or whatever platform. And then that's an opportunity, I guess, to meet the clients via video. They can show us around their home and possibly their cats if they're
Yeah,
around.
sure.
Yeah, so that's how we're doing things now. And I think that's a real sensible way of doing things. And
Mhm.
with keys, we operate with a contactless service as well. So if they're my existing clients, some of them are very local to where I live, so they'll just post the keys through my home, my letterbox, and I do the same to give the keys back as well. So there's no contact whatsoever, and we're just making sure that we're being extra vigilant, washing hands, wearing masks when necessary, and yeah, still providing a very good service.
How has that transition to video and digital meet and greets been for you? I know there's been a lot of conversation around that.
Yeah.
Was that an easy transition? Was there some awkward phases in there, or what was that like?
To be honest, we haven't had many, so I can't really speak on the experience so far. We have one
Sure.
coming up. It's actually a little easier because it saves me time in the sense where
Mm,
I don't have to commute or go to the client's house, and we can communicate that way. Um, but it is nice to, of course, go and meet the cats. So it has hindered in that sense because I feel even with the initial first meetings, it's a chance for the cats to see you, to meet you for that first time, so that when you actually go in for the booking, they may not know you fully, but they may recognize your scent or they may recognize your voice from the first initial meeting. So
right.
I guess it may feel a little difficult maybe for the cat. Um, so I guess now I would approach it in a much. I usually approach new cats or clients in a very slow process anyway. So I wouldn't immediately go up to the cat and bother the cat. I'd sit down and be very quiet and allow the cat to observe me and smell me and come in his or her own time. So I would definitely be doing that now. The cats haven't had the chance to meet me prior to the booking.
We've talked a little bit about some of the challenges that you've faced and that are facing, but I was wondering if you've had been able to think about maybe some lessons that you've taken away from this.
I wouldn't say that I've taken any lessons per se, but I have, I guess, gained new knowledge. I have taken this time to do a lot of back office work, which I didn't really have time for before. So
Sure.
I've used this time to look at contracts, client contracts, employee contracts. I'm currently making an employee handbook. Luckily, I have support. So I have my niece is actually, she has a degree in contract law. So she has been amazing during this time because I'm able to send her documents and she looks over them for me. So it's great to have that support. I was struggling prior to the lockdown with accounting jobs. So I'm quite a novice with when it comes to numbers and accounting. So that is not my forte at all. And I didn't really have the financial means to hire an accountant. So a mutual friend, she actually is a qualified accountant, and I approached her and she said that she's happy to step in and look at some things for me and help me with some things free of charge, which is just amazing. So I feel like during this time I've taken it to really grow a community of support, of people around me who are able to help me and give advice. And it's amazing because I'll remember that help and I'll remember them. And when, the lockdown finishes and everything's back to normal, I would love to, pay them and to get them to work with me on a more permanent basis. So it's just amazing to have that support also from my clients. I recently sent out an email to all of my clients asking if they could post reviews for me, either via Facebook, Trustpilot, or any platform that we have our reviews on. And a lot of my clients have been great with that as well. So they have been uploading reviews for me. They've been in touch. They've sent nice emails. So it's just really lovely to have that support and that community. And yeah, it's been amazing. So I really I can't fault this. It's sort of this time is so difficult, but in a sense, it feels like a blessing. It's strange. It feels like now that everything's stopped, you can really just take a standstill and appreciate the people that you have around you and appreciate the community, and it restores, I guess, faith in humanity.
It really has. And just like you were describing there, you were able to reach out to people that maybe you wouldn't have beforehand, or maybe you didn't have the time to. And it did a couple things. It brought people into close connection with you and helped expose people to other skill sets that they had around them that maybe they never knew or maybe never thought to take access to or even ask. And it really does show of, wow, like you have all of these strengths and I have these strengths. Let's work together on this, and let's come together to help each other get through this time.
Exactly.
And it has been really awesome to watch. And that's the creativity that's come out of this, and hearing that the willingness of people to support and to help you through this. And and again, you're going, okay, like this is going to continue forward. This is how I want to continue to operate, of us helping each other and getting everyone through this.
100%. That has been the driving force within everything that I'm doing. And I just want to improve the service, and I want to improve everything I'm doing so that I can offer the best kind of, service for the clients, but also make it a great company to work for my employees. And it's been great.
It sounds like this time has been really inspiring to you in a lot of cases. Taking back to maybe some fundamentals and some basics, and looking at how you can, because you do have time. And that's one of the things of, you said Christmas was the busiest time and the best time you had previously. And to have the brakes slammed on so hard, it allowed you to breathe and go, okay, like where can we start chipping away at some little things, and how can we start building? It sounds
100%.
Like, it sounds like that's really been just very motivating for you too during this time.
It has. It's been so motivating, and I think I guess you spoke about lessons. The lesson that I've learned is to really just take a moment. So after the lockdown finishes, I will consciously make sure that I take these moments and breaks from whatever else I'm doing to have these moments of stillness and be able to, I guess, focus on what I'm doing now solely alone without thinking, oh, I need to do this, or I need to go here, I need to go on holiday, I need to see friends. It's just, yeah, I'm going to definitely take these moments as a blessing and go forward with doing the same thing.
Well, because before, and I know that that is a chronic problem in the pet care industry of not taking moments of stillness. And it's hard to convince people to do that because they go, do you know how busy I am? If I took a moment, I would get nothing done. And now all we have are moments of stillness. And yet a lot of us are still really busy with a lot of this other stuff and taking care of ourselves and just being okay to sit by yourself for a moment because we have to, right? We can't be up and running around and taking care of pets. So we're forced to sit and just go, okay, this is what I have. What can I do? How can I make the best of this? And I think that is something that moving forward, we should all hope that we remember. And in 5 years' time, that these muscles that we've exercised of being okay to sit still for a couple minutes are still there.
Definitely, 100%.
And I know one of the things that you're excited about, and I'm excited about for you too, is you're working on a podcast about pets and their well-being. So I would love for you to share about that and kind of where that idea came from.
Yeah, so I guess again, the lockdown, it's been a blessing because I literally sit down sometimes and now I have not a lot to do. It gives me time to think and plan. And I thought about things that I've been doing recently and also things that I had been doing prior to lockdown. So when I was studying and during some of the stressful periods of working for myself, I didn't actually mention that I was doing some, I was taking action slightly, not as much as I am now, but slightly on my health and well-being. Because as you mentioned, pet sitters, sometimes we don't know when to stop. And we can't say no, and it's exhausting. So during some of the busier times and at clients' houses, sometimes I do this in a client's house where I knew that the pets were quite nervous and the cats would appreciate a human presence but not necessarily want to be disturbed, so they'd sit by you but they wouldn't want to be touched or pampered. So during those times I'd actually meditate. So I use there's a couple of apps that I use, and I just literally put on a 15-minute guided meditation, and that really it helps me to stop. It helped me to, I guess, regain control of my mind again and to feel at ease and good within myself. And also, I felt like that energy, I know it sounds a bit out there, but I felt like the cat really picked up on it. So there were a couple of times where I've worked and I've meditated at a client's house, and I've received some feedback from clients, after the booking had ended, and they'd say to me, wow, I'm not sure what you did, but my cat is more, I guess, more comfortable around me now, or my cat wants to sit with me now, and they've never done this before. So it's a really rewarding feeling. I'm not really sure if it did have any impact on the cat that I was sitting there meditating, but I mean, it is, well, from the feedback, it felt like it may have. So yeah, it's been really nice. And also, I guess I've been following quite a lot of people on Instagram. I've been looking into therapy cats and dogs, and a lot of the stories that I've read are so interesting and just they're really feel good stories, and I really enjoy reading that. So I felt like to have those stories on a podcast would be so nice and really relaxing, and even something for, I guess, other pet sitters to listen to while they're, visiting a pet. They could have the podcast on, they can listen to it, listen to some stories, and maybe, some of the stories they can relate to themselves. And I just really want to tie in, especially now during the lockdown. It can be a very lonely time for a lot of people, depressing. So well-being for me is paramount now. So I thought about combining the two things that have really helped me, because cats are so therapeutic sometimes. I work as a nanny. That's my other job. So I work with children, and you have children of your own as well. So I'm sure you know that sometimes things are very high. It's very high intensity a lot of the time, and especially if it's multiple children, more than one. So after looking after children the whole day, I'd often feel really exhausted. So once sometimes I'd have a cat booking after my nanny job, after I'd been working the whole day, and just to have that contrast of working with children and having full energy the whole day, to then going to be with a cat in somebody's home, and then the cat purring and wanting that affection and also giving you that affection. It felt really therapeutic, and it feels really nice and lovely. So I guess it has helped with my well-being as well to do this job. This job has been really amazing. It's probably one of the best jobs and the best choices and decisions that I've ever made. So I'd love to share that with other people, and I'd also like to hear other people's stories. So that's what I'm currently looking into.
Okay, so do you have a title and maybe an expected release time frame?
Not yet. So I'm still doing a lot of the research. I don't want to launch without having everything in place. I'm a bit of an organized. I kind of obsess over being organized in a sense. I like to have things in place, so I'll have like a checklist of what I need in place first.
Gotcha.
So I'd like to do a lot of research first, maybe write some of my own content, and then also have a list of people who I want to contact and who I feel would be good to, I guess, share their stories and contribute to the podcast as well. So it would be great to have you guys on as well, and speak about what you guys do and well-being. So I'm really excited about launching this and where it could go.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a lot of fun and really cool. So people can stay in touch and maybe be on the lookout for that podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can they follow along, or maybe sign up for something, or just get in touch and follow the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so definitely social media. So we're on Instagram and Facebook at Chatty Cats Care. And I'd also probably post some content about it on my website, which is www.chattycatscare.co.uk. And they'll definitely be able to find some more information about launch dates and what we're going to be doing then. At the moment, I'm just putting out feelers, so you may find some questions in our stories, and I'd really appreciate if anybody wants to contribute their stories or answer the questions. That's what I'm currently doing at the moment.
All right. Well, that's very exciting. Michelle, thank you for coming on today and sharing your optimism and your contagious positivity about things moving forward. And I'm glad that you're doing well with everything. And we hope to bring you back on to get an update and see how everything's going for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Since doing this interview, I am so happy to say that Michelle has come up with a name for her podcast, Catmaste, Catmaste. Be on the lookout for that. You can check her out on Instagram and follow along to whenever she starts releasing that. And I'll include links to that and so much more in the show notes of things that we talked about. As many of us are starting to open back up and become busier and busier again, and I can tell because I love seeing all of the really cute dog photos everybody is posting on Instagram, we have to continue to remind ourselves of those quiet moments, that we had them for a few precious months during this kind of scary, uneasy time, and we will need those moving forward. I encourage you to pursue those in all that you do and find a few moments every single day to just take a few moments to breathe. And I do have a quick note. On Wednesday's episode, I completely forgot to actually say the code to get $5 off of one of Jen's rescue rope leads. It's I Confess. ICONFESS. Go to rescueropeleads.com, and when you're ready to check out, use that code for $5 off any of her leashes.